With respect to registration, how many sections are there? With respect to registration chapter in total, I mean to say. Okay, full question. Very good. 9 sections are there. Section 22 to 30. Yes, ma'am. Very good. Fine. So with respect to 22 to section 30, deals with total registration topic. Section 22 to 30 deals with registration topic. What is 22 to 30 here deals with? Initially, section 22 deals with after exceeding a prescribed turnover limit, you are liable for registration. What is that prescribed limit? Will be specified under section 22. And section 24 covers the people who are notified under section 24. Irrespective of their turnover, they are liable for registration. So what is the difference between 22 and 24, ma? 22, you are liable to get the registration only when the threshold limit exceeds. But when you are notified under section 24, what is the point, ma? You are liable for registration irrespective of your turnover. That is the point. Okay, ma. And what is 23 deals with? Some relaxations that are given with respect to section 24 or 22, those cases will be specified under 23. That means the persons who are not liable to take the registration. And what is 25 deals with? Okay, up to 22 to 24, you said that these people are required to take the registration. The next question is how to take the registration and what is the procedure that will be there under 25. Okay, while following that particular procedure, that means your application can be accepted or rejected. The first question is here, if at all you are having multiple place of businesses in different states, in that case, in how many states you need to apply, ma? All the, in whichever, whatever the place of businesses that are there in different states, that many number of RCs is required. How many applications are required? How many applications are required? That means, let's say some from 10 states we are making the application. Because in 10 states we are having the place of business. In that case, what is the position, ma? In that case, what is the position, ma? Only one, because you are applying online now. There is no concept of CGST registration, SGST registration under our GST. There is only a concept of GST registration. And form number is? What is the form number for registration, ma? REC 01 is the form number for registration. So that is the point that will be there under 26. Once you are applied under SGST, deemed to be applied under CGST. Once your application is rejected under SGST, deemed to be rejected under CGST. That point will be there under section 26. And after that, with respect to CTP and NRTP, in comparison with remaining people, there is a special procedure that is needed to be followed. So what is the special procedure we need to follow will be there under section 27. So the special procedure we are required to follow will be there under section 27. After that, okay sir, RC was granted to us on submitting so many details. Later on, whatever the data, whatever the information you submit, whatever the data, whatever the information you submit, definitely there may be a change occurs later on when the RC was actually taken by you. Let's say there may be a change in the place of business, there may be a change in the legal name, or there can be a change in the directors, there can be a change in the partners. In those cases, any fresh RC is required or old RC can be modified. That thing will be answered by section 28. That thing will be answered by section 28. And if at all you did not follow the procedure that was laid down under the act or the rules, then under which circumstances your RC can be cancelled, that will be there under section 29. Once your RC is cancelled, then say you realize that the mistake you have committed. Now you are ready to rectify the mistake. In that case, there must be some opportunity that must be provided to the other party. For that sake, revocation of cancellation was there as per section 30. So these are the sections what we are going to discuss in this particular registration chapter. So initially we need to start with section 22. Yes, ma. So with respect to this, initially we starts with section 22, ma. What does 22 deals with generally? Already we know the concept of 22 in brief. You are liable for registration when only when the threshold limit exceeds. What is the threshold limit, ma? What is the turnover limit there? What is the turnover limit? Depends upon states MMDN 10 T-shirt of Sampo T Sampo, those 6 states ma. T Sampo, Sampurnesh Babu, the hero. After Mahesh Babu, he is a legendary actor in Telugu. You know him? Yeah. He's having some creative ideas. So he got Oscar for Hruday Kalayam movie. Fine. Bhaskar Award, yes. Not Oscar, Bhaskar Award. Fine. So, T-shirt of Sampo. So, what is meant by MMTN? Manipur, Meghalaya, Tripura, Manipur, Mizoram, T for Tripura, N for Nagaland, and T Sampo. T denotes Telangana, S denotes Sikkim, A Arunachal Pradesh, M Meghalaya, P Puducherry, U Uttarakhand. With respect to these 6 states, 20 is the limit. Whereas rest of the country, supplier of the goods 40, goods plus service or only service 20. This is a summary of the 22 what we are going to discuss now. MMTN 10, T-shirt of Sampo 20. Sir, here 10 or 20 is for the goods or for the service? Both, ma. 10 MMTN 10 is for supply of the goods as well as for supply of service. In the same way, with respect to this T Sampo also, what is the point, ma, with respect to T Sampo? 20 limit is for supply of the goods as well as for supply of service. But whereas with respect to rest of the country, like AP, if at all you are exclusive supplier of the good, what is the limit, ma? 40 lakhs. If at all you are exclusive supplier of the service, then 20. Goods plus service. Goods plus service 20, whichever is lower. Goods 40, service 20, whichever is lower, ma, 20. In the same way, you are having one place in Tripura, another place is in AP. With respect to goods, what is the registration limit? 10. Why, ma? Whichever is lower will be considered. So that means I think Tripura is 10 and whereas AP is 40, whichever is lower, ma, 10. Here my question is here, this 10 is needed to be exceeded for country wise or state wise. That means in Sikkim it is, let us assume that say with respect to, sorry, not Sikkim, it is Tripura, 10 lakhs is the limit, and with respect to AP, 40 lakhs is the limit. Okay, we started a business in this particular Tripura as well as in AP. With respect to Tripura, let us assume that the turnover is 7 lakhs, and with respect to AP, the turnover is 9 lakhs. Are we liable for registration? Are we liable for registration, ma? Definitely. We are liable for registration is the right answer. Because while computing the aggregate turnover, we should see country-wise for the same PAN. For the same PAN, whatever the country-wise that were there, all those amounts are needed to be considered. Here, what is the country-wise turnover now? Which 16 lakhs. So with respect to the unit, whichever is lower should be considered as a threshold. What is the threshold limit now? 10. So 10 exceeded or not? Exceeded. In that case, are you liable or not liable, ma? Definitely liable. In how many number of states you are required to take the registration? How many number of states you are required to take the registration? 2. Previously I said with respect to application, single is sufficient. But RCs are different now for state to state. So definitely you need to have 2 RCs. Here let us take the example. In Tripura, we are actually running a restaurant. Tripura was running a barma, and whereas in AP we are running a restaurant. In that case, what about your answer? Are we liable or not liable for registration? In Tripura, we are having the wines, liquor business. And in AP, we are having the restaurant business. Now, based on the same turnovers are there, are we liable for registration or not liable for registration? Liable or not liable? In Tripura, we are running the liquor business. In AP, we are running the restaurant business. In that case, are we liable or not liable? Definitely we are not liable is the wrong answer. While computing the aggregate turnover, what is the definition that is there in composition scheme will be applicable here also. What is the definition that is there in composition scheme? All taxable supplies, exempted supplies, exports, interstate supplies, minus GST, minus RCM purchases. What is the amount we will get? It is known as aggregate turnover. That means while computing the aggregate turnover, even exempted supplies should be considered. And what is meant by exempted supply? We discussed that topic in supply chapter. What is meant by exempted supply? Nil rated supply, 100% exempted supply, non-taxable supply. All the three was included in the definition of this exempted supply. Therefore, this particular Tripura turnover is includable or excludable? Includable. Now, what is the total turnover? 16, which is more than 10 or less than 10? More than 10. Liable or not liable? Liable. In how many states we need to apply? In how many states we need to apply? Application, okay. Forgot about application. In how many states we need to apply? In how many states we need to apply? 2 or 1? Answer is 1. That means you are required to take the registration as per section 22 from the state where you are making the taxable supply. You are required to take the registration from the state where you are making the taxable supply. From where we are making the taxable supply, ma'am? AP only. So from what state we are required to take the registration? From AP. That is the point we need to remember. Okay, ma? Based on this point, these themes, we need to see the points, ma. The first point is okay, fine. So with respect to this point, ma, the basic provision for registration is, what is the point? As per 22, every supplier shall be liable to be registered under this act in the state or UT other than special category states like MMDN, Manipur, Mizoram, Tripura, Nagaland. Why those states are excluded, ma? For them, what is the limit? 10 lakhs is the limit. From where he makes a taxable supply. What is the word that is there, ma? From where he makes a taxable supply. From that particular state only he is required to take the registration. Here, okay, actually, me download చేశాను నా డౌన్లోడ్ చేయలేదు మర్చిపోయినట్టు. Okay, ma. So with respect to Tripura, that means the fourth line. In the first paragraph, fourth line, ma, what is it? From the place where you are making a taxable supply, from that particular state, you are required to take the registration. When, ma? When your turnover exceeds 20. When the act came into force, it was like that. Even still in section 22, it was like that only. It was like that only. But due to a notification, later on, the 20 lakhs limit was exceeded to 40 lakhs. Due to a notification, later on it exceeded to 40 lakhs. That is the point we need to remember. Okay. So with respect to that, for the special category states, and actually only 10-20, only two limits are there. But later on by notification, 20 lakhs limit was increased to 40. అందుకని మనం 22 చదివేటప్పుడు ఇనిషియల్లీ ఇట్ విల్ బి లైక్ దట్ ఓన్లీ. ఎందుకంటే 22లో స్టిల్ ఏమని ఉంది, 10 or 20, ఓన్లీ టూ లిమిట్స్ ఆర్ దేర్. మనం అనుకున్న ఎక్స్క్లూజివ్ సప్లయర్ ఆఫ్ ద గూడ్స్ ఫర్ దట్ 40 lakhs లిమిట్ ఈజ్ నాట్ దేర్ అండర్ సెక్షన్ 22 మా. It was modified by way of a notification. So that's why it will be there under a notification. And it don't be confused. అంటే సార్ మీరు 40 చెప్పారు, మరి ఇక్కడ 20 ఉంది ఏంటి? యాక్ట్లో స్టిల్ 20నే ఉంది. బట్ బై నోటిఫికేషన్ గవర్నమెంట్ మోడిఫైడ్ దట్ లాటర్ ఆన్. సో మనం ముందు 22లో ఉన్నది ఉన్నట్లుగా మనం డిస్కస్ చేయాలి కాబట్టి దట్స్ వై గూడ్స్ అయినా సర్వీస్ అయినా దేర్ ఆర్ ఓన్లీ టూ లిమిట్స్ మా. గూడ్స్ ఆర్ సర్వీస్ ఇన్ బోత్ కేసెస్ వీఆర్ హ్యావింగ్ ఓన్లీ టూ లిమిట్స్. సో ఫైన్. Next one, second paragraph. For special category states, Tripura, Nagaland, Manipur, Mizoram, the limit of 20 lakhs was reduced to 10 lakhs. Further, if a supplier has its presence in more than one state, including special category state, the limit would be reduced to 10. Even when doing exempted supplies or taxable or both supplies from special category states. That is the point now, whichever is lower should be considered. We discussed regarding the example. We're having one place of business in Tripura, another place of business in AP. In that case, which registration limit shall be considered there? Tripura. Because whichever is lower, that registration limit will be considered. Sir, while computing the aggregate turnover, only taxable supply should be considered, or even exempted supply should also be considered? Even exempted supply should also be considered. That is the point, ma. And ICA view is there here. The threshold limit of the person having place of business in more than one state in India gets reduced to 10 only when such person makes taxable supplies from any of the special category states as per 22. However, in case he makes exempted or non-taxable supply from a special category state and taxable supplies from a state other than special category state, then the threshold limit shall not be reduced. That means in your ICA book it was like that. అంటే చుక్కలన్నీ ఒక సైడ్ ఉంటే చంద్రుడని ఒక సైడ్ ఉంటాడు అన్నట్టుగా whatever the remaining author says, whatever the remaining and all interpretation the people are making, opposite to that your ICA is saying. But what we should follow? What ICA says. ICA ఏది చెప్తే అది మనం ఫాలో అవ్వాలి. వెదర్ ఇట్ ఈస్ రైట్ ఆర్ రాంగ్, దట్ ఇంటర్ప్రిటేషన్ ఇట్ డస్ నాట్ మ్యాటర్. What is there in ICA, definitely we need to follow that. So what ICA is saying and what the remaining people are saying, based on that ICA view, what ICA is saying, what the remaining people are saying. Say, indaka manam anukunna with respect to that, one place of business is in Tripura, another place of business is there in AP. Now, what the remaining people are saying is, if at all whether it can be taxable supply, exempted supply, or non-taxable supply. Here also taxable supply, okay. In this particular special category state, whatever the supply you are making, it is irrelevant. Your turnover limit will be reduced to that special category state limit. This is rest of the world is saying. But what ICA is saying here, ICA is saying here that if at all you are making a taxable supply from the special category state, then only the limit will be reduced to the special category state limit. Otherwise, the limit will not be reduced to the special category limit. Let's say, with respect to AP, you are making the taxable supply of some 20 lakhs. And whereas with respect to Tripura, you are making the taxable supply of some 2 lakhs. In that case, automatically the registration limit will be reduced to the aggregate turnover limit that is specified for Tripura. But if at all, instead of that it is a taxable supply, it is exempted supply. What I see is saying that if at all it is exempted supply that is there in Tripura, then the limit will not be reduced to 10, still the limit will be 20. దానికి ICA లాజిక్ ఏంటంటే you are required to take the registration from the state where you are making the taxable supply. So that's why from where you are making the taxable supply, from AP only. That's why we will consider AP turnover limit only. This was ICA logic. ICA చెప్తున్నటువంటి పాయింట్ ఏంటి అక్కడ, from the state, if at all you are having two place of businesses, one in special category state, second one in normal state. Okay. One in special category state, second one in normal state. If these two are doing taxable supplies, in that case, the threshold limit will be reduced to special category state limit. In these two states, this special category state is not doing any taxable supplies. It is doing the exempted supplies. In that case, special category turnover will not be considered. Only the normal state turnover will be considered for the sake of registration. That is the point what he is saying here, ICA. Whether right or wrong, we should follow the ICA book. So that is the view that is there in your ICA. Okay, any doubt in this ICA viewpoint? Realistic view is actually, I think my opinion is actually the limit should be reduced because you are including it in the aggregate turnover. If at all you did not included the non-taxable exempted supplies in the aggregate turnover, then that is okay. The view of ICA can be correct from my point of view. But my logic is here, you are taking that turnover into account now. That's why that while you are taking that turnover into account, the limit should be reduced. That's my view. But ICA different view is there. But realistic view according to me is the second one, not the ICA. Now the logic I thought is that turnover is always includable. The view that here from special category state you are making non-taxable supplies, therefore that threshold limit will not be considered. That is the point. Next, analysis 1. Registration requirement in supplier state. Tax flowing to the recipient state. It is important to note that registration is required in the state from where taxable supplies are made. He will not be liable to register from the state from where exclusively exempted supplies are made. This is a point already we discussed. That means from which state you are making the taxable supplies, from that particular state only you are required to take the registration. If at all you are making exclusive exempted supplies from a particular state, then with respect to that state you are not required to take the registration. That is the point. Why, ma? Because section 23 also says same the thing. 23 కూడా మనకి ఏం చేస్తున్నామా, సేమ్ థింగ్ కదా. ఇఫ్ ఎట్ ఆల్ యు ఆర్ ఏబుల్ టు రికలెక్ట్ సెక్షన్ 23, వాట్ సెక్షన్ 23 సేస్ మా, If at all you are making exclusive non-taxable supplies, if at all you are making exclusive non-taxable supplies, you are not required to take the registration. The same point was confirmed by 23 also. Exclusive exempted supplies chestuna, exclusive non-taxable supplies chestuna, you are not required to take the registration. That is analysis 1 mark here. And second point is here. There was some frequently asked question that was there in CBIC. I'm a resident of Delhi, having no business in Delhi or elsewhere, but I have a commercial property in Noida on which I receive a rent of 25 lakhs. Where should I get the registration? And what tax should I pay? He is a resident of Delhi, but is having the property in Noida. In that case, InvState is required to take the registration. What is the answer, ma? That's why I say this. It is important to note that the registration is required in the state from where taxable supplies are made, not where you resides. అందుకనే పైన మనం రాసిన ఫస్ట్ పాయింట్ అదే కదా. ఏమని రాసాము అక్కడ? రిజిస్ట్రేషన్ రిక్వైర్మెంట్ ఎక్కడ ఉండాలి? ఇన్ ద స్టేట్ ఫ్రమ్ వేర్ taxable supplies are made or from where supplier is there. ఏమా సప్లైర్ ఉన్న స్టేట్ నుంచి మనం రిజిస్ట్రేషన్ చేయించుకోవాలా? ఆర్ ఫ్రమ్ వేర్ యు ఆర్ మేకింగ్ taxable supplies? From where you are making the taxable supplies, in that state you are required to take the registration, not from the state where the supplier resides. Here in our point number 2, where the supplier resides, ma? Delhi. But from which place is making the taxable supply? Noida. Noida means UP, na? UP. Rasana, okay. Juice separa. Okay, with respect to Noida, it is there in UP, ma. So in which state you are required to take the registration, ma'am? UP. Aggregate turnover shall include all the supplies made by the taxable person, whether on his own account or made on behalf of all his principals. It shall be noted that agent turnover will be only be included in the turnover of the principal when the invoice has been issued in the name of the principal, whereas when the agent issues invoice in his own name, it shall be added to the turnover of the agent. That is the point of what we have discussed. So once whatever the turnover that is done by the agent, whether invoice is in the name of the principal or invoice is in the name of the agent, it is always includable in principal turnover. Sir, what about the agent turnover? When it is included in the agent turnover, ma? Eppadu agent turnover lo include cheyali? Only when the invoice is in the name of the agent, then only that particular turnover is includable in agent's turnover. Endukani logic entamma? Principal dalo endukani always we should include it. Suppose invoice is in the name of the principal, not in the name of the agent. Straight away you are saying that it is principal turnover. So it is to be includable. If the invoice is in the name of the agent, then why it is actually includable in principal turnover? It is a deemed supply that is made by agent to the principal. Na? In that case also, is it includable or not? Yes, definitely it is includable. So, at the principal hands lo invoice ever name meeda unna, it is always includable. But whereas when it is includable in the agent's turnover, ma, if at all invoice is in the name of the agent, then only the turnover is includable in the agent's turnover. Sir, అలాంటప్పుడు డబుల్ టాక్సేషన్ అవుతుంది కదా? నో మా, ఐటీసీ విల్ బి దేర్ నా. ఐటీసీ ఇస్తారు కదా, సో దట్స్ వై నో డబుల్ టాక్సేషన్ విల్ బి దేర్. వన్ పర్సన్ విల్ ఆటోమేటిక్గా విల్ గెట్ ద ఐటీసీ కదా. అదే పాయింట్ ఇక్కడ కూడా. ఇక సెకండ్ వన్, వాట్ అబౌట్ ద జాబ్ వర్క్? వాట్ అబౌట్ ద జాబ్ వర్క్ మా? దట్ మీన్స్ ఫ్రమ్ ద జాబ్ వర్కర్ ప్లేస్ ద గూడ్స్ ఆర్ సోల్డ్. Let's say, for example, principal has sent the goods to the job worker, some semi-finished goods. Their finished goods are produced and directly sold from job worker place. In that case, under whose turnover that particular amount is needed to be includable? Is it in the principal turnover or is it in the job worker turnover? Always it is includable in the principal turnover. But for selling the goods directly from the job worker place, job worker place should be declared as a additional place of business in the RC. If at all job worker is an unregistered person. If the job worker is already a registered one, there is no need to specify that this place is an additional place of business. Job worker place nunchi manam sale cheyali ante what is the position ma? Definitely that job worker place should be declared as an additional place of business in the RC. Then only you are able to sell the goods from the job worker place. But if at all job worker is already a registered person, then there is no need to specify that it is an additional place of business. That is the point ma. See, supply of the goods after the completion of the job work by the registered job worker shall be treated as supply of the goods by the principal, and value of such goods shall not be included in the aggregate turnover of job worker. Note, if the principal wishes to supply the goods from the place of business of unregistered job worker, the place of business of the job worker shall be added as a additional place of business in the registration. However, if the job worker is registered, he can supply the notified goods directly from the job worker place. That is the point now what we have discussed. Yes, you can make supply directly from job worker place. But even though the supply was made from the job worker place, but still it is includable in the turnover of principal only. But if the job worker is a registered one, no issue. If the job worker is an unregistered one, then his place of business should be declared as a additional place of business in the RC. That is the point. Yes, ma, with respect to case 1, Maharashtra and Gujarat are engaged in taxable supplies. Ma. Aggregate turnover is, let's say, for example, 21 lakhs. With respect to, let us assume that it is with respect to supply of service. But here, అంటే మీకు మెటీరియల్ మనం ప్రిపేర్ చేసినప్పుడు ఇక్కడ కదా మీకు 40 lakhs అని తెలిసేది యాక్చువల్లీ. సో దట్స్ వై వీ అజ్యూమ్ దట్ ఇట్ ఈస్ ఎ సప్లై ఆఫ్ సర్వీస్ హియర్. సో విత్ రెస్పెక్ట్ టు దట్ Maharashtra and Gujarat are engaged in taxable supplies. Let us assume that it is a supply of service for you, and Maharashtra turnover is 16 lakhs ma, and whereas what is the turnover of the Gujarat? 5 lakhs. In that case, are you required to take the registration ma? Yes, while computing the aggregate turnover, all the states' turnover shall be considered. Therefore, 16 plus 5, 21, which is more than the specified limit. In that case, from how many number of states you are required to take? 2 states, Maharashtra and Gujarat. See the second case, ma. Maharashtra, you are making the taxable supplies. From Gujarat, you are making 100% exempted supplies. In that case, are you required to take the registration? Yes, ma, definitely, because turnover exceeds 20 lakhs. But from how many member of states you are required to take the registration? Only one. Why, ma? From Gujarat, we are not making any taxable supplies. What about the case 3? So Maharashtra is actually 9 lakhs, and another one is there in Tripura, which is of some 3 lakhs. So while you are having here actually both are taxable supplies. So that's why the registration limit will be reduced to the state of Tripura. What is the Tripura turnover limit, ma? 10. It is 12 lakh, which is more than the limit. Liable or not liable for registration? Liable. How many number of states, ma? 2. Maharashtra and Tripura, which is a special category state. And next, please see the case 4, ma. Analysis of the threshold limit of registration. Maharashtra, we are making the taxable supplies, and Tripura, we are making the exempted supplies. Maharashtra 15 lakhs and Tripura is 3 lakhs. What is the total, ma? As per our opinion, 18, which is more than the limit. But as per ICA view, limit of 20 lakhs would be applicable instead of 10 lakhs. Since special category state is involved in exempted supplies, therefore, special category state turnover will not be considered. Only which state turnover will be considered, ma? Taxable. So from which state you are making the taxable supplies? Maharashtra. What is the limit for Maharashtra? 20. So what is Maharashtra plus Tripura turnover was there? 18 only now, which is less than 20. Liable or not liable? Not liable for registration. That is as per our ICA view, ma, case 4. So మీరు ICA ఏదైతే చెప్పారో అదే ఫాలో అవ్వాలి కాబట్టి దట్స్ వై వీఆర్ నాట్ రిక్వైర్డ్ టు టేక్ ద రిజిస్ట్రేషన్. Okay, ma? Fine. Next one. Sir, while making the registration count, previous year turnover shall be considered or current financial year turnover shall be considered? Current financial year. Previous year lo unte appude cheskuntam manam. So, aggregate turnover of the current financial year shall be considered. Previous financial year will be considered for exemptions. While studying the exemptions chapter, the importance will be there to previous financial year turnover. But whereas while computing the aggregate turnover, previous year turnover will not be considered. Instead of that, current financial year aggregate turnover shall be considered. So number of registrations state-wise shall be taken. That means number of states is equal to number of RCs. That means from where you are making taxable supplies. So from how many number of states you are making the taxable supplies, that many number of RCs you are required to take. But now a separate RC can be taken optionally. But once it was taken, they are deemed to be distinct persons. Whatever the stock transfer happens between them, definitely it is a deemed supply. That is the point. Registration needs to be taken state-wise. That is, there is no centralized registration under GST. A business entity having its branches in multiple states will have to take separate state-wise registration for the branches in different states. That is the point what we have discussed. That means in how many number of states you are having the place of business, that many number of RCs you are required to take. Further, within a state, an entity with different branches shall be granted single registration wherein it can declare one place as a principal place of business and another place as a additional place of business. That means one is the head office and remaining places are branches. Let's say with respect to Guntur will be the head office. Rest of the 6 places will be the branches. That is the point. Next one. Separate registration in a single state is an option now. That is the point what we have discussed also. A taxpayer having multiple place of businesses in one state is not mandatorily required to take the separate RC, but has the option to take the separate RC with respect to that place of business. Sir, anni same business kakunda different business chestunnayi. That means each place of business is doing a different business. In that case, separate RC is mandatory or optional. In the same state, every place of business has its own business. That is different business. In that case, separate RC is mandatory or optional? Optional. As long as you are having all the place of businesses in one state, single RC is sufficient, whether they are doing the same business or different businesses. As long as all the place of businesses are there in the single state, definitely single RC is sufficient. That is the point. Next one is inter-unit taxability. Already we discussed at this point in supply chapter. When you are having the different RCs, that is the point. Separate registration for each place of business shall be granted, provided all separately registered places pay the tax on the supply made to another registered place of business of the same person and issue tax invoice or bill of supply for such supply. Separate registration application needed to be filled for each place of business. This is the point what we have discussed in supply chapter as deemed supplies. What in chapter when you are having separate RCs for the different place of businesses in the same state, even though they are in the same state, but while making any transfer or supplies between one branch to another branch, definitely they are required to pay the tax and the tax invoice is needed to be issued. That is the second point. Already we discussed at this point in supply chapter itself, but wordings are different. And they states, if at all you are exclusive supplier of the goods, what is the registration limit? 40 lakhs. Exclusive supplier of service, 20 lakhs. Goods plus service, 20. But whereas with respect to exclusive supply of the goods also, with respect to notified goods, the limit of 20 will be applicable. The notified goods limit was there in composition scheme. What is the notified goods list? Ice cream, pan masala, tobacco, aerated water, building bricks, fly ash bricks, roofing tiles. Those 7 manufacturers, even though they are exclusive supplier of the goods, but still, instead of 40 lakhs limit, what is the limit that will be applicable to them? 20 lakhs limit will be applicable to them. That is the point we will see in the notification. In this analysis part, we are going to understand the threshold limit for exclusive supplier of the goods. Before starting the discussion, 2 things shall be kept in mind. Interstate supplier of the goods, that means whatever the points that are there under section 22, it deals with intrastate supplies only. Whatever the points that are therein, whether it may be with respect to supply of the goods or it may be with respect to supply of service, section 22 covers intrastate supplies only. Why? Interstate supplies are covered under section 24, which deals with compulsory registration. Interstate supplies section 24 లో మెన్షన్ చేశారు కాబట్టి ఇక్కడ 22 లో ఓన్లీ which will be covered ma intrastate supplies only. That is the point ma. Interstate supplier of the goods, mandatory registration. Mandatory registration. Person engaged in interstate supply of the goods have to compulsorily obtain the registration under GST as per section 24. No benefit of threshold. ఇప్పుడే కదా అనుకున్నా. If at all it is the interstate supply, they are required to take the compulsory registration as per 24. For them, 22 limits will not be applicable. Therefore, 22 covers intrastate supplies only. So, interstate supplier of service. Sir, interstate supplier of service is covered under 22 or under 24? Initially, it was actually covered under 24, but relaxation was given by 23, not by 22. అంటే 24 మనకి యాక్ట్ వచ్చినప్పుడు దానిలో రాసిన వర్డింగ్స్ ఏంటి అంటే ఇంటర్స్టేట్ సప్లైస్. Interstate supplier is liable to take the compulsory registration is the word that is there in 24. Interstate supplier అన్నాడే కానీ it does not specify interstate supplier of the goods. It simply says interstate supplier. But government, by using the power that is given by section 23, has given the relaxation with respect to interstate supplier. See the paragraph there. Interstate supplier of service, he is mandatorily registration required ma. Ippudaithe if aggregate turnover is 20 lakhs with respect to few states and 10 lakhs with respect to MMTN service kabatti, person engaged in interstate supply of service has to compulsorily obtain the registration if the aggregate turnover exceeds the specified limit. Section 23 read with section 24 notification. అంటే ఇనిషియల్గా యాక్ట్ వచ్చినప్పుడు 24లో ఏమని రాశారమ్మా? Interstate supplier is liable to take the registration. Going to take compulsory registration under 24. Goods plus service 20 lakhs limit. That is point C. And what about the point of voluntary registration ma? What is meant by the word voluntary registration? Even though he is not required to take registration either as per section 22 or as per section 24, but still he got the RC. Those type of persons are known as voluntary registered persons. Why the people will go for voluntary registration ma? For getting the loans. Because if you want to get the loan, banker will ask for RC. That's why those people will go for voluntary registration. In that case, the threshold limit is applicable ma? No. Once you got the RC, you are deemed to be a normal registered person. Then whatever the rules, whatever the regulations that are applicable to a normal registered person, all those points will be applicable here also. That is point D. Persons exercising the option of voluntary registration shall not be liable to obtain the registration under GST. అంటే ఎవరు అంటే గనక వాళ్ళు రిజిస్ట్రేషన్ చేసుకోవాల్సిన లయబిలిటీ, but still they can get the RC. Those people are known as voluntary registered persons. Atlani, while computing the aggregate turnover, one thing is needed to be excluded ma. That is exempted interest or discount on bills. Even composition scheme దగ్గర point నేర్చుకున్నాం మనం. While computing the aggregate turnover, exempted interest or discount on bills would not be considered. గుర్తుందని అనుకుంటున్నానమ్మా. Interest on credit card only taxable, all other interest incomes are exempted అనుకుందాం. That exempted interest, and what is the second one, ma? Discount on bills. Those two shall be ignored for deciding the aggregate turnover as well as with respect to the supply of the goods also. That is the point, ma. This is the final threshold limit with respect to that state wise. అంటే మనం చెప్పుకునే దాని summary ఇది. So with respect to this చూడండి, states from where taxable supplies is to be provided: Arunachal Pradesh, Sikkim, Meghalaya, Telangana, Uttarakhand, Puducherry. That means T Sampo. Whether it is exclusive supply of the goods, what is the limit, ma? 20. Exclusive supply of service, 20. Both goods plus service, 20. Next one, Manipur, Mizoram, Tripura, Nagaland. Whether it is exclusive supply of the goods or service or both, the limit will be 10. And other states, with respect to other states, what is the point, ma? Intrastate. See this, ma, with respect to intrastate, 40 lakhs. If at all you are exclusive supplier of the goods and goods plus service or only service, 20. And interstate aithenama, with respect to interstate supplier of the goods, why just put it as 0, ma? Irrespective of your turnover limit, you are liable to get the registration. What about interstate supply of service? With respect to Manipur, Mizoram, Tripura, Nagaland, 10 lakhs, ma. Whereas rest of the states, what is the limit there? 20 lakhs is the limit. So that is the point up to 22. Let us take the example. Mr. R is there. Mr. R is having, he is making the supply of the goods, ma. He is there in AP, Andhra Pradesh. And with respect to the goods, his turnover is, let's take the example of some 35 lakhs. And with respect to interest, what he is getting from the bank is some 10 lakhs. Up to this point, is it clear to everyone, ma? Mr. R is the supplier of the goods who is there in AP, Andhra Pradesh. And from the supply of the goods, he is actually getting some 35 lakhs. And interest from bank, he is getting some 10 lakhs. Okay. The question arises here. Generally, interest comes under supply of the goods or supply of service. Supply of service, na? Yes or no? Amma, interest is a service or not? Anta doubtful ga place pettaru. Interest income comes under supply of the goods or supply of service. Say for example, I am actually giving the money to the bank, ma, by depositing the money in the bank. By using my money, bank is getting some profits. That's why they are giving me interest. For using my money, bank is paying me the interest. Yes or no? In that case, is it a supply of service or not? But ఎంత doubtful గా face పెట్టారు, ఎలా ఇది అన్నట్టు? Definitely, is it a supply of service or not? Yes, definitely it is a supply of service. But what is the point we discussed in the notification, ma? Exclusive supplier of the goods, what is the registration limit? 40 lakhs. If at all your exclusive supplier of service, 20 lakhs. Goods plus service, 20. Here he is making goods plus service, not technically. He is making goods plus service. In that case, the notification itself is purposeless. Plus, everybody will maintain some money in the bank. Every business person in the real world will maintain some money in the bank account. Whether in the current account or FD or savings account, whatever the account it is. In the name of business, he will maintain some money. Yes or no? Then every business person will get interest. Then no business person will be able to get the benefit of 40 lakhs there. That's why the government come up with a solution. While computing the limit, eligibility, whether he is eligible for 40 lakhs limit as exclusive supplier of the goods or goods plus service, like that, while computing that amount, this interest is needed to be excluded. That means not the interest amount, ma. Interest, that particular, it should not be taken that he is actually making a supply of service. Please forget that particular point and please assume that he is making only this amount. That means what he is doing, ma? He is only doing supply of the goods only. That means for determining the limit of 40 or 20, we should ignore the service portion. It is deemed that that was not done. Only the supplier of the goods is actually making. That's why what is the limit there? 40 lakhs limit is applicable. Up to this point, is it clear, ma? Manam 40 lakhs limit ni count chesedapudu whether he is a supplier of the goods or goods plus service, for determining that whatever the exempted interest or discount on bills will be excluded from service portion. That's why what is the limit that is applicable to Mr. R here? 40 lakhs limit. ఈ 40 lakhs దాటిందా లేదా అని అగ్రిగేట్ టర్న్ ఓవర్ కౌంట్ చేసుకునేటప్పుడు, వైల్ కౌంటింగ్ దిస్ అగ్రిగేట్ టర్న్ ఓవర్, వాట్ ఈస్ ద పాయింట్ మా? దిస్ ఎగ్జామ్టెడ్ టర్న్ ఓవర్ షుడ్ ఆల్సో బి కన్సిడర్డ్. సో 35 plus 10, what is the total ma now? 45, which is more than 40. Liable or not liable there? Liable for registration. That is the meaning of that paragraph. I think దానికోసమే వచ్చినట్టున్నావు కదా. ఎస్, అంటే ఇద్దరు ముగ్గురు అడిగారు కాబట్టి 7 శబ్దాల క్లాస్లో అనుకున్నాను. దట్ ఈస్ ద పాయింట్. అండ్ అనదర్ పాయింట్, ఓకే ఇది అయిపోయింది. ఇంకొక పాయింట్ ఉండాలి, ఇందాక నేను అంటే చెప్పడం మర్చిపోయింది. అండర్లైన్ దిస్ 2 points ఇందాక నేను జస్ట్ మిస్ అయ్యానమ్మా. ఇందాక పావుగంటలు నా మైండ్ కూడా ఫ్రెష్ అయింది. ఫైన్. సో వేరే అంటే వచ్చినప్పుడు కొంచెం వేరే డిఫరెంట్ మూడ్లో వచ్చాను క్లాస్కి. సో నౌ ఇట్ వాస్ సెట్. So with respect to that, unlike composition scheme, not only manufacturing but also trading is restricted. What is the sentence meaning, mother? If at all you are able to recollect, with respect to 10(1), who are the people that are ineligible for 10(1)? Manufacturer of notified goods only, but traders are eligible. But whereas here, not only the manufacturer, even traders also restricted. That means trader of these notified goods also, instead of 40 lakhs, what is the limit applicable to them? 20 lakhs. But whereas in composition scheme, the restriction is applicable only to the manufacturer, but not to the trader. But while under registration chapter, 40 or 20, while applying that particular limit, manufacturer of the notified goods along with him, trader of the notified goods is also ineligible for 40 lakhs. గుర్తుపెట్టుకోండమ్మా. Composition scheme లో only manufacturer is not eligible, whereas trader is eligible for composition scheme there. But whereas with respect to our here what we can say registration portion, ma, with respect to the registration portion, what is the point, ma'am? Not only the manufacturer but also the trader of these notified goods becomes ineligible for 40 lakhs benefit. For them, what is the limit that will be applicable, ma? 20 lakhs will be applicable.